Hey guys, it's Panther, and today I wanted to go over the newer build that we're seeing on Hecarim jungle, as well as some of the biggest mistakes that I'm seeing people make on this specific build. Hecarim has been in the jungle meta for a while now, however, things have changed a lot due to the scuttle changes as well as the changes in his summoner spells. As a result, a lot of people haven't really adapted to the newer playstyle that Hecarim is exhibiting, and as a result they are making a lot of mistakes. So I just wanted to go over some of these mistakes, as well as kind of introduce people who might be new to the build. Before we get too far into the video, I want to remind you to like the video and subscribe. We post new content done by challenger players every day. Now without further ado, let's take a look at these changes. Now the first thing that you're going to notice is that we're taking Ignite now on Hecarim instead of Ghost. Now the reason that we're taking Ignite here is because instead of looking for an early gank with Ghost, we actually want to take a fight at Scuttle Crab if possible. Having Ignite will allow you to win pretty much any Scuttle fight, even if the enemy character has Smite and Conqueror. This will allow Hecarim to win the Scuttle fight, take the Scuttle, and then path immediately to the next Scuttle. If you take Ghost on Hecarim, you're not going to be nearly as potent on that first Scuttle fight, which means you might not be able to double Scuttle the enemy jungler. One thing to keep in mind is that the first Scuttle is worth a lot more now because it spawns later on into the game, which means it is worth more EXP on average than it was before. This is especially true if both junglers are performing full clears quickly before the crabs spawn. Now I want to move on to the clear next. Generally you're going to just be starting red. It doesn't matter what side you're on. You want to start your red buff because this is the fastest clear on Hecarim. Now this isn't any different from what Hecarim used to do. He's pretty much always started either red or raptor. You can start blue if you really want to, but it doesn't make too much sense because it's just going to be a slower clear, and Hecarim wants to full clear and gank as soon as possible. Hecarim also doesn't have any restrictions on what lanes he can gank since he is so fast with his E, so look to start red if possible. Now a big mistake that I'm seeing a lot of players make is they are still taking E as their second ability. This is no longer optimal on Hecarim. The reason that people were taking E before W on Hecarim before was because of the Scuttle fight that would break out at level 2 a lot of the time. Oftentimes, you would look to gank mid lane at level 2 with Hecarim to make sure that your mid laner had lane priority so that you were able to do Scuttle safely. However, since Scuttle spawns a lot later now, you just want to be clearing as quickly and healthily as possible, which means you should be taking Q and then W. Now here's where I see another big mistake come into play. A lot of players will go straight from red into Krugs. Now, going into Krugs after red can be viable, but first you need to take a look at your map and figure out what your lanes are going to be doing when Scuttle spawns. You should only be doing Krugs if your lanes are going to have priority when Scuttle spawns. If all three of your lanes are going to be pushed to the enemy tower, then you're free to do Krugs and full clear, and you won't have to worry about being contested by the enemy laners at the Scuttle because they're going to be shoved into their tower. However, if your lanes do not have inherent priority, this means that you should not do Krugs and should instead go to Raptors before pathing to your blue side. This is because in order to safely do Scuttle, your lanes have to have priority, and if they can't get it on their own, it means you have to help them get priority first. By skipping Krugs, you will give yourself time to gank a lane without forfeiting the Scuttle to the enemy jungler. This will still give you the opportunity to double Scuttle the enemy jungler, and then you can path to your Krugs after clearing the second Scuttle. It's not quite as optimal because your Krug spawn will be a little bit later, but it's better than not getting any Scuttle crabs at all. Remember, your clear path has to cater to this specific game. I see so many players who just clear the same way on every champion every single game without any variance, and this is such a huge mistake, and it just lowers your jungle impact overall. If you need to practice the clear in Practice Tool, then feel free to do that, but make sure that you are able to do each of the specific clears well. Once you finish your first clear, your clearing just becomes standard. If there are no available lanes to gank, then farm jungle. If something looks like a free kill, then go for the gank. Try to make sure that you're collapsing on every single crab and getting every single crab, since Hecarim is able to snowball a lead very, very hard, and he's relatively safe even on his own once he hits level 6. One thing you should not be doing is pressuring crabs if you don't have ultimate. It is probably not safe to do, it's very risky to do, unless you know you can kill the enemy jungler without your ultimate. Even if somebody roams to you, it's probably best to just let the crab go and wait for your ultimate to come back up. This is obviously irrelevant if your lanes have priority and there's no chance of you getting roamed on. If you can 1v1 them, then just take the crab. Now there are a few different ways that you can build Hecarim, however, rushing Trinity Force is likely going to be your best option. It increases your clear speed, it increases your dueling potential, gives you any stat you could possibly want, and just allows you to stay on the map so much longer as well. Rushing Warrior is also an option, but you should only look for that if you are only able to buy 2 longswords on your first base instead of a longsword phage. Warrior is more of a bailout build. You shouldn't be looking to itemize it if you are ahead. Now the next mistake that I see Hecarim players making, and this is by far the biggest mistake, is they are ganking wrong. I see a lot of Hecarim players running through the river in order to gank. Now, this is not to say that running through the river is always bad. It can work, and it will often result in a lot of kills. However, you are not utilizing Hecarim to his fullest potential if you are only ganking through the river. Remember, with Hecarim's E, he is able to gank from so many different areas. He's able to gank from behind the enemy tower, he's able to gank from behind his own tower, he's able to do pretty much anything he wants. He can hide in the brush, use it. Make sure you're using your E in creative ways and not just running through the river at people over and over and over again. For example, if you want to tower dive the enemy team, try tower diving them from behind and pushing them towards your team, as opposed to tower diving from the same side as your team and pushing them away from your team. You'll see a lot better results if you're able to creatively use your kit to your advantage. One thing that a lot of high elo Hecarim players will do is they will run behind the tower as early as level 3 even, just to get a gank off. Now, I'm not saying that you should go around only ganking from behind the tower. Just keep in mind that it is a viable option on Hecarim. Now, the next mistake that I see a lot of players making is they're not utilizing Hecarim's ability to solo dragons. When your second buffs spawn, you should definitely be looking to solo the dragon. Now, if there's vision on it or you don't have any pressure from any lanes, that's fine. You can do something else. However, if you have winning lanes and you have the pressure to do dragon, then make sure you are capitalizing on that. Hecarim uses every single dragon very, very well. As long as he has blue buff, he will not run out of mana on the dragon, and he will be able to do it very quickly and very healthily. A game where you get 4 dragons is a so much easier game to win than a game where you get no dragons. So make sure you're able to get early dragons and try and snowball that into more and more and more dragons as the game goes on. The same goes for Rift Herald. If you are seeing an opportunity to get Rift Herald, make sure you take it. I see so many people just let Rift Herald die without ever taking it. There are so many games that I watch where people aren't taking the Rift Herald, and I just can't figure out why. Rift Herald is so good. If you can take it, then take it. Again, it is very, very hard for the enemy jungle to 1v1 you at these objectives, Dragon and Rift Herald, because you have Ignite. Another thing that you can do if you don't want to do objectives is you can look to invade the enemy jungler every time Ignite is up. Again, even if they have Conqueror and Smite up, because you have Ignite, that's not going to heal them all that much, and you'll win pretty much any duel, even in the enemy jungle. Just make sure you don't overextend and get collapsed on by the enemy laners. You have to make sure it's a safe invade to be making. Now, once Baron has spawned, you want to be looking to make a pick into Baron. Hecarim does Baron very, very well, especially if he has a lead, because he's able to just tank it, do a lot of damage to it, and stay full HP all at the same time. His ability to turn off of Baron is also just amazing. Ideally, before you even look for a Baron, you want to make sure the mid tower and top tower are both down first. This is important because it means that they are going to have to play further back, and it makes it a lot easier to secure deep vision inside of the enemy jungle. Now, you can do Baron if those 2 towers are still up. However, it's likely only going to work if you've already picked an enemy member of the team, or they are just not expecting it at all. Now once you get into the later game, it plays pretty much the same thing as Hecarim has always played. You just want to look to get into the backline, kill one of their backliners, maybe two if possible, and disrupt the rest of the team. With your current build, you are very, very tanky, you deal a lot of damage, and you have a revive with GA, so you should be able to at least kill one member of the enemy team, maybe even two every single time. That does it for today's video on Ignite Hecarim Jungle. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We post new content done by Challenger players every day. If you have any ideas for us for future videos or any questions, then make sure to let us know in a comment down below. As always, I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next video.